Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about subtracting fractions. Now, a lot of students will have some difficulties working with fractions simply because they don't really understand what they're doing. So today I'm going to walk you through an easy method to subtract fractions. So let's just start with a sample fraction. So here we have 2/3 minus 1/2. And at first glance, you might want to just do 2 minus 1 over 3 minus 2, which would give you 1 over 1. But unfortunately, fractions don't work that way. So we're going to have to just get rid of this. So now this begs the question, what do we do? How do we solve this? Well, the first piece of advice I would give you is to look for a common denominator, and the easiest case would be the lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator, commonly referred to by LCD, in most cases, especially when the two denominators are not multiples of each other, the lowest common denominator is found by multiplying the two denominators together. So let's take another look at our fraction here. We still have 2/3 minus 1/2. So here, the two denominators are not multiples of each other. So in order to find the LCD, or lowest common denominator, we're going to need to multiply these two guys together. So we're going to multiply 2 by 3 to get 6, which is our lowest common denominator. So what do we do with it? Well, 6 happens to be the lowest denominator that both 2/3 and 1/2 have in common. So what we need to do now is we need to turn the fraction 2 over 3, or 2/3, into a proportion over 6. Same thing with 1 over 2. And the only way to do this would be to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Now let's try to do the same thing with our other fraction, 1/2. Now instead of multiplying by 2 over 2, we need to get this in terms of sixths. So how do I get 1 over 2 in terms of sixths? I must multiply it by 3 over 3. So now we're going to do 1/2 times 3 over 3, which again is still 1. And now we're going to get 3/6. So now the fractions have a common denominator. Now it's time to solve the problem. So let's take a look at what we have now. Now we have 4 over 6 minus 3 over 6, which actually has the two fractions with the same denominator, so now we can perform the subtraction. So keep in mind, we are only subtracting the numerators. The denominator will remain the same. So hopefully this has been a helpful tutorial for you to learn how to subtract fractions. I will now provide you with a problem of your own you can try, and we'll also walk you through it. So here we have the fraction 7 over 11, or 7/11, minus 2 over 5. So here we see that the fractions clearly do not have the same denominator. So what do we do? Well, if you recall from earlier in this screencast, the first thing that we need to do is to find lowest common denominators. So in our case, we have 11 and 5, so the lowest common denominator would be 11 times 5, which is 55. So as was the case with the previous problem, we're going to take 7 over 11 and turn it into terms of a number over 55 and do the same thing with 2 over 5. So here we can see 7 over 11 times 5 over 5 will give us the fraction 35 over 55. And 2 over 5 times 11 over 11 will give us 22 over 55. Finally, we can take our two fractions, 35 over 55, and subtract 22 over 55 from that and be left with 13 over 55. So now we have our final answer of 13 over 55. So this is how we subtract fractions. Let's go over the ground rules again. So the first thing we need to do is to find the lowest common denominator to get the denominators the same. Once we've done that, the second thing we need to do is to remember to only subtract the numerators. Remember, the denominators stay the same. Well, this concludes subtracting fractions. Now, hopefully, this wasn't too scary. Just kidding. Hope you enjoyed the screencast. Bye.